WBUR Podcasts, Boston.
I'm Daryl C. Murphy, and you're listening to The Comment. Today, I'm talking to the host of the Audacy podcast, First in Foxborough, Khari Thompson. We're going to talk some sports, more specifically, the Patriots. And we're going to do a quick check-in on the team. We're going to talk about the season. So let's get into it. Khari, thank you so very much for coming by. I'm so excited to get into this with you.
Oh, me too, man. It's always great to be on here with you, man.
I haven't been paying too close attention to the Patriots, but enough to see that they're looking pretty mid. How would you rank this season compared to the other seasons in recent memory?
So let's start with 2018. So they win the Super Bowl. I don't know that was fully a team that everybody thought was going to win the Super Bowl, but then they kind of turned it on at the right time at the end of the season. 2019, they had an incredible defense. Everybody thought was the greatest defense they'd ever seen. Nobody can score on us. And then they lost in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, I was there. That was Tom Brady's last game. It was crazy. One of the craziest atmospheres I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then 2020, Tom Brady's gone. Cam Newton's there. 7-9, mid. As you said, mid. It could have been so much worse, but they definitely weren't very good. Last year, they kind of surprised people where they make the playoffs with a rookie quarterback, Mac Jones, who comes in like he wasn't God's gift to football, but he just kind of did his job, and the rest of the team did a solid job as well. And I think that's really what Bill Belichick was trying to do this year as well. Like, let's just build a team that's, we don't have a lot of stars, but it's a team that does its job. Well, you know what? It's ended up turning into last year, where they were good, but not good enough. And I think you're kind of finding out what it's like to be what everybody else is in the NFL, which is, hey, it's kind of year to year. Championships aren't guaranteed.
All right. So you mentioned Mac Jones just out there doing his job. You know, do you think he has what it takes to lead this team to glory?
That's a complicated question with an even more complicated answer. I'm going to try not to really, really overdo it, but let's sum it up like this.
Okay.
His superpowers are more about his mind, the way he can see the field and the way that he can, quickly diagnose what a defense is doing, or, hey, if the defense does this, then I'm going to do this, or, oh, that guy's not open. Let me go to the next guy and the next guy. And so his strengths are about thinking the game. But I think what the Patriots are finding this year is that that's not enough. They've been a middling team, and Mac Jones really struggled to start this year. And part of it was because they had new offensive coaches, and they brought in somebody who had never called offensive plays before, who had no experience doing that. And it's kind of hurt Mac Jones' progression as a quarterback. And so a lot of people are questioning, why did Bill Belichick do that? But of course, people are also just looking at Mac Jones right now and thinking, when do we decide we're going to cut bait with him? I think a lot of fans are kind of going downhill with him.
You mentioned Bill Belichick because we cannot talk the Patriots without talking Bill Belichick. What does this season say about his coaching? Is it time for him? Are fans souring on him?
Man, it used to be, is it more Bill Belichick or Tom Brady in terms of who was more important to the dynasty?
Yeah.
And then obviously Tom Brady goes and wins a Super Bowl someplace else, but his team ain't doing so hot right now. So you could look at it and be like, maybe they needed each other. But I think a lot of people are looking at him and saying, Bill could get away with some of the things that he was doing because he had the greatest quarterback of all time covering up all the mistakes. I think a lot of people are thinking, has the game passed Bill Belichick by? And do we need somebody who understands that in the modern NFL, you need superstars, especially superstars at quarterback and at these skill positions?
Let's talk about the playoffs. How's that looking for the Patriots?
As of right now, they are not out of it.
Okay.
But I just don't think the prognosis is very good. I mentioned earlier that it was kind of like a sequel to last season, where they struggled a little bit early in the year, and then they went on a winning streak. Then they went up against the Chicago Bears in Week 7, a game that they absolutely should have won.
Uh-huh.
And they got their doors blown off. by a team that kind of came in and just outcoached Bill Belichick and they out schemed them and they just outplayed them. Just everything was a mess that day.
Montgomery is in for the touchdown. What a night for the ground game of the Bears.
I think the Patriots have been a team where if you decide you don't want to win a game and you want to make a ton of mistakes or you have a bad quarterback, the Patriots will say, we'll wait for you to give us the game. And more often than not, that works. But if you're a good team that's just like, look, we are better than you. We are going to show you that we're better than you, that we're not scared of you, and we're just going to take it to you. The Patriots haven't had an answer for it.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more from Khari.
Politics has never been stranger or more online, which is why the politics team at Wired is making a new show, Wired Politics Lab. It's all about how to navigate the endless stream of news and information and what to look out for. Each week on the show, we'll dig into far-right platforms, AI chatbots, influencer campaigns, and so much more. Wired Politics Lab launches Thursday, April 11th. Follow the show wherever you get your podcasts.
And we're back. I want to go back to the game against the Arizona Cardinals, where Devontae Parker had shown some concussion symptoms.
Yeah.
After he hit his head on a turf really hard. Like, he caught the pass, made the first down.
Yeah.
But, he got tackled and brought down to the ground, and his head just, hit the ground really hard.
He's a little banged up. They're going to be watching him. Somebody upstairs should be. He looked a little wobbly coming up.
He had some symptoms, and he was lining up for another play, and then Nelson Aguilar had to flag down the officials to get him off the field. What was the aftermath of that? Because I understand that the Players Association had to get involved. Am I right?
Yes. And so, first of all, that was a really hard play to watch. It's kind of a personal issue for me as well, because I suffered multiple concussions when I played football.
Oh, wow.
And so when I saw him get up and he stumbled, I knew immediately, nope, they've got to get him off the field.
Mm-hmm.
For one thing, there are spotters that sit and try to watch for any abnormal activity, a guy who looks like they're losing their balance or they're too slow to get up after a hit to the head. And so you're supposed to see that kind of thing right away. I have no idea why a spotter did not see that particular play, especially when he stumbled immediately when he got up. That should be an immediate buzz down to the officials, and then they blow the whistles and they stop the game. And Parker was pretty upset about it himself. For one thing, he praised Aguilar for his actions. And that's an interesting thing about Nelson Aguilar. He has not really endeared himself to Patriots fans much for his play on the field, but he got a lot of praise for what he did for being a good teammate in that situation.
So, Khari, will there be any type of repercussions or penalties for this, for how the team responded or didn't respond, I should say?
I would think that there probably isn't going to be a ton of repercussion there because the play was stopped and Parker did not have to continue the game and didn't put himself at further risk, as opposed to what happened, I think, earlier in the season with Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami
scary.
Dolphins. Yes, where he gets hit one week and then is allowed to come back into a game where they cleared him for what was called a back injury, when I think just about everybody realized that he had a gross loss of motor function.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and his head bounces off the turf and you see the fencing response. And it's just immediately like, oh my goodness, what did they do to this kid?
He was curling his fingers.
Yeah, so that's what they call the fencing response.
Yeah.
When you're knocked unconscious and your hands just neurologically, they just go into that position because your body is stunned and it just does not know how to react. If you think about it, right? Concussion is your brain bouncing off of your skull. That is a really, really serious injury.
Yeah.
You can't play around with that. And the independent neurologist that cleared him for that previous week, he wasn't allowed to continue doing his work with the NFL. I don't think anything as dramatic will happen in this case again, because Parker did not get cleared to play. He was taken off the field and they followed the proper precautions to rule him out of the game. But man, they got to be more on that going forward.
Understood. Well, Khari, for my last question, we're in an elevator. We're about to hit my floor. You got like 20 seconds.
All right, let's see.
What are you going to be looking for in these next few weeks?
At this point, I'm looking ahead almost to the big picture, and that is, how is Mac Jones doing? How is he playing? Does he look like he still has the confidence to continue to build off of this year? Because it's been a rough one. If he looks like he's struggling and this season irreparably damaged him, then you've got to start all over at quarterback. But you know what? If he finishes the year strong, regardless of whether or not the Patriots make the playoffs, then to me, that feels like you can build on that, and maybe all hope is not lost for 2023 and beyond.
Understood. Khari, man, listen, I am so grateful that you could take the time to come through. It's so nice to kind of just sit here and just talk a little sports. So thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Anytime, my man. Anytime.
That's host of the Audacy podcast, First in Foxborough, Khari Thompson. And that's our show for today. Please make sure to hit us up on Instagram or Twitter. We would absolutely love to hear from you. We are at WBUR The Common. Or if you don't do social media, that's fine. Send us an email at thecommon@wbur.org. I'm Daryl C. Murphy, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.